that'll be part of my budget amendment, which will help eliminate their line item expenditures.
So that's the other account, public safety other? And a couple of years ago, working with Win, and you and Seth, what we did is, there were a lot of complaints that the deputies were being sent out on pickup calls that were, orders hadn't been completed by the court, or hadn't been communication from, one entity to another. So we took 10,000 from district court, 10,000, I think, from the county attorney,
I don't remember now.
and we put it into that fund to pay for those, because the burden was falling on the sheriff's office. We haven't had that since, which was the purpose of creating that account, to kind of illuminate this problem. And so it's just kind of sat there. So that was one of the things this year with Brandon, trying to balance his budget. We talked about early on is, got $20,000 sitting here, so he used it. Yeah,
Right.
so, but yeah, we haven't had the problem since, so that was a success. I think that's all of my questions. Do you have anything more to share with us? Anything we're missing? Anything we need to focus on?
Brandon did tell me that the refund from Bank of Texas for Zerker, that they had sent him an email that it's gotta be spent on another Zerker product. So that will probably go into the 911 fund, because it's for all the dispatch types, equipment and things that they use there. So he did clarify that, because I was putting it into their public safety budget. He says, no, there's restriction. I said, okay, well, wasn't sure, so we
Right.
hashed that out this morning.
Okay,
He said no, so. That's all right, if it's, for equipment they need, that's where it needs to go.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah,
Especially if it keeps them modernized and able to handle things better,
yeah.
yeah. Just waiting to see when it's gonna come in, cause that statement was May to June. So now it's just a matter of watching to see, I haven't seen it come in yet, so I don't know. They'll send a check or what they'll do,
We shall see.
yeah. So that was part of our discussions this morning, before you came down here. Oh, I did have a question, you've got a line item, communications fund.
That is, and it's on the agenda for Monday, but that is the newsletter. Postcards coming up so that we have a ability to communicate with the public, share with them
Okay.
some of the things that are going on in the county.
Okay, so I think, when I got that, I did create a separate, it's a separate kind of account within the general fund all by itself. So it's not an account under commissioners or my account, it's kind of on its own. Because you had asked for that, so I didn't create a separate fund, but I did put it in the general fund with its own account
That works.
as part of our budget. But I wasn't sure what it was for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that where legal went to? Legal defense?
I think there's a separate account for that one somewhere too.
Okay, separate account within the general?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm. I think I have to go back and look. I remember seeing it. I think it's in there, and it's a different number than what Corey's would be.
right.
So it's kind of in there, but not within your budget, so it's just kind of a standalone.
Okay,
Put it for attorneys and other legal, what I put in the notes.
okay.
Hey Deb, when do you want to create, new line items and things like that for different accounts? And we talked about, where I'm going is talked about the airport, how they have trouble tracking their fuel. And we thought about creating a separate line item that shows where they're at with their fuel expenditures.
It is in one of their reports.
Yeah.
It's a specific object code within their
But right now, it shows them paying for their fuel out of maintenance and repair, which it shouldn't be coming out of there.
Well, yeah, cause it's oil and fuel and gas. Now, if they want us, I think there's a specific one,
But this is fuel that's bought at a pump, you know, for,
well, if it comes out of the pump, then it's going in their revenue report. And Doug gets, they had to go all automatic out there, and everything is done ACH. So when somebody comes and buys fuel and fills their plane, it's charged to their card, and then the bank that sells them the fuel sends the money to Doug in his bank account.
right, and I went to Doug, and he had to dig pretty deep to find it. I mean,
Really?
it's not readily available. So what it does is it skews their maintenance and repair account, it
Now,
always
that's
shows
when
them,
they buy fuel.
shows them in a deficit,
to
yeah.
fill their tank to resell.
Right, so it shows them in a, you know, $70,000 deficit all the time in that line item, because that's where it's being, where it's coming from.
I'll have to go look into that.
Go look into that, and,
Because I know since Ernie left, the reporting side of things has been a little more,
Mhm.
Mike has relied on Michelle and I a lot. I'll
Right,
go look at that and
Yeah.
see, because it might be something that they didn't budget enough, because like the price goes up for the gas they buy.
Mhm.
That could be why it shows they're negative, because they bought more than they said they were, maybe?
Well, what's happening is it shows that they purchased the fuel, but it never takes into account the money that comes back in.
Okay, that would be a separate report.
Mhm.
And I don't know if Mike is asking for the revenue reports.
Well,
I'll look into it.
I just know
We'll
that
come
when
up
we
with
got our
something.
budget reports here a month or two ago, that was always the big
Hmm.
question, is why repair and maintenance was showing such a big deficit.
Okay, I'll go look into the airport.
Yeah, look at it, and
Yeah.
I think you'll see what I'm talking about. I think there's just a better way of helping them track it.
Yeah. I know we've made a separate object code that's specifically gas, fuel, oil, diesel, that we could shift to that when they turn in claims versus the supply, but in the BARS book, that object code
Mhm.
covers all that. But we carried it one further, it still falls under 230, but like 231 for fuel, gas, diesel, because some people wanted to report it separate. That might be
Okay.
an option versus the repair and maintenance line
Mhm.
item.
It'd just be easier for them when they read that
I'll go look
report.
at, and I'll go look at
And
the
they'll know.
revenue too,
Mhm.
and I'll go talk with Doug. I'm not sure why it should be that hard, you should be able to pull up their fund and
Yeah,
go right into their 2 or 3 revenue accounts where all that money comes in electronically.
yeah.
I think it identifies it like CTS Holdings or something for all those purchases. It really makes a lot of work on his side. He used to get a monthly report, but I haven't seen any of that since they switched companies, so
Okay.
but I'll look,
Let's see what we can do for them.
yeah.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Good enough.
So, to get the preliminary budget done, are you okay waiting on, after the 9th for, I think everything's done, because we're gonna get search and rescues corrected and public safety today, trust board. Are you okay
Well,
waiting?
see, I thought Debbie was gonna get me some different numbers, and then they were just gonna vote on it. So I was
Okay,
okay to wait for them on the vote. So I'm not sure why now we're waiting till their vote for me to get those numbers. I'll just send her an email to clarify, because that's not what I remember us discussing.
okay. Okay, we're gonna be meeting with them on Monday. Perhaps if you let her know in the email, that we kinda told people 3% increase and see if she can turn in something in keeping with that. If you guys wanna wait till after Monday, that's fine. I'm starting to feel a little bit of crunch that we
Yeah.
don't have the preliminary budget.
I
That's
agree.
the
It's
plain and
close.
simple of it.
It's close.
And I won't, yeah,
Yeah. So it's just a couple stragglers like that, and Mary, I need to get with her, I gotta have her revenues, cause that is gonna change in her preliminary budget where the numbers are looking, it's gonna show her way,
I think
In
we
the
got
hole.
her revenues.
oh, did you?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll
right.
get those to you.
Cause I just have those first expenditures, and then she was gonna get the revenues, and she's being tugged in 20 different directions.
I know,
So-
yeah.
Trying to help her remember some of that stuff. It's kinda like me walk out the door and it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll get you what we have, and then, maybe if you follow up with her,
Okay.
okay? Do we wanna also work on the computer plan next week, or do you guys wanna wait on that? Computer and printer replacement plan?
Do we have enough information on that? Has everybody submitted what they need?
I think so.
Have they?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so, can you double check on that? If everyone submitted what their, do we have everything we need to have a in-depth conversation about the computers and the programs and the printers?
I will check with Doug, cause he kinda started all that.
Okay,
I somehow got caught in the middle with Black Mountain.
right. Well, you know what, I'll check with Doug. Take that off
Because
your
I know he
plate.
was looking at ordering his computers from Dell, they were cheaper, and working with Josh. And I know Teresa already got hers through a grant, so there's a couple off the list, so it might just need an updated list from Josh. Who has and who don't have at this point, moving
Okay.
forward. And I think Doug could get that from Josh really easy,
And we may already have it,
and we might,
yeah,
I just kinda hit and miss on that conversation.
okay.
And I know this, you know, we're coming down to the end of the year, so I think our county attorney probably was going to work on his software. Remember when he told us what the plan he had to purchase that, how he would
Yeah.
pay for it? I would assume that's gonna happen before the end of the year.
Do we wanna give some okays to some of our preliminary requests?
I think probably, yeah.
Okay, we wanna make that one the first one that we
Okay.
give the okay to for that plan?
Let's see, what's that?
Some of the requests are really easy.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, just real quick clarification, is this a request that you're going into for PILT?
No,
These are just budget requests.
Okay.
So I can't remember what the name of the software program was. It was for helping them to be more in line with what the state's going to and to help
yeah,
them streamline and be more efficient in their office as well,
yeah.
right? Is that
Yeah.
how you ever done that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I forget the name
And he had the
too.
money in his budget and things to pay for it.
Yeah, the, money he was overpaid for,
So the military,
For
Yeah.
military.
and then,
Yeah.
and then there was someplace else that he was getting it.
here it is.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Oh, and I'll give you an update too on the victim witness. I don't know that we need the name of the software.
All right.
Yeah.
I guess we can just
We know what it is.
Just move to allow the purchase of that.
Case management software
go.
is what it is.
There you go.
Yeah. It was, yeah, 2560 was what was left, and he has that in his budget. Would you like me to move that
I'll
we-
make a
Okay,
motion. I move that we allow our county attorney to purchase the case management software out of his current year's budget.
And I'll second that motion and just add a friendly amendment with the details, and that is the grant is $7,360. Repayment of his overpaid salary of $9,630. And, from his budget, the balance of $2,560.
What's the software? Amount
Case
is the
management
2,000
software, yeah,
2,560,
yeah.
okay.
So the motion's been made and second to have the county attorney purchase the case management software system. Is there any other further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same, motion carries.
The other one that I think is pretty easy is the $500 to be added to professional services for justice court for paying the substitute judge as needed.
Sure.
And I will move to approve that.
Is there a
I
second?
will second.
Motion's been made and second to approve the $500 for substitute judge for justice court. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same, motion carries. We're gonna discuss the computers next week, right?
Yeah, add that to the agenda. Moving the assistant for maintenance to full-time. Are you guys ready to address that? That one, Mike has saved so much money by doing things in-house. And that one's easy to consider, but we can hold off. What do you guys think?
I'm fine with approving.
So I would move to approve the current staff and maintenance to move to 40 hours a week. Current full-time staff and maintenance to move to 40 hours per week.
And it looks like that was what, a $9,000 increase, right?
Yeah,
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve maintenance staff from 32 hours to 40 hours a week. Any further discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Opposed, same, motion carries.
Since we're on a roll, I'll move that with fiscal year 19 PILT, that we transfer $100,000 to the Barris litigation fund.
I'll second that.
A motion's been made and seconded to transfer $100,000 from PILT to the Bears legal fund. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same, motion carries.
And we have the $50,000 transfer from PILT to law enforcement budget for the Mason Memorial. Do you want to make that one, Daryl, if you're good with that at this time?
Yeah. Okay. I'll move that we transfer the 50,000 from PILT to the Mason Moore Memorial account.
I'll second that.
Motion been made and seconded to transfer 50,000 from PILT for the Mason Moore Material Fund. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same, motion carries.
And I'll move that we transfer from PILT $10,000 as an initial payment for the voting machines, as required by the Secretary of State's office, with full knowledge that that will be reimbursed.
Do we know that's gonna be reimbursed yet?
We don't have anything in writing, but And, yeah, I guess, I should take that out of my motion. We have to have the machines that are required.
Mhm.
Don't think it's an emergency to, get it done now, so that we can table that if you want.
Yeah, let's agree on that.
Okay, sounds good. We agreed on the staffing already for, planning and sanitarian, right?
Yeah,
32 hours-ish. We should have a motion to switch the planning revenue object code from general fund to community development planning.
which is the planning fund.
Yeah.
Are we changing that to community development planning, then? Is that the fund is that what we're gonna call that fund?
You know what, it's in here, it's still planning, but we did change the name of the office to community development a couple years ago,
Okay.
because they do so much more than just planning. I've been slow to adopt the change, cause it's just less syllables. I'm trying.
Okay, so the motion's been made to switch the planning fund from the general fund to the community development planning fund.
We'll second that motion.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
So one quick clarification, the staffing that is planning and sanitarian to 32, is that for the clerk or a new hire? We're still gonna keep Sean as contracted service, or is this
That's for Janae.
what she's
job,
doing,
but
and so it's gonna be between,
but
okay.
it's
So it's
a-
like the clerk, okay.
Which one is this is a new hire. Which one is the new hire?
Right, so we're
Because
hiring two
District court staff and
to
this is
replace
half.
one. That's how valuable
Thanks
you
for
are to us.
Yeah, we just kind of split Janae's job into,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
poor Janaea.
I gotta take this.
Okay,
Hello? Hi. You can leave, okay.
so remind me on the sanitarian and planning, we're gonna kind of be working with that to figure out how many hours we need for the planner. So it's 32 hours with a couple hours a week on top for the commissioners, or shaved off?
No, it's 32 hours period.
Okay,
yeah.
all right. 32 hours total.
And then if Nicole was thinking that she was maybe gonna be able to cut her hours, and then that would, if we could give those hours to that person at a lower pay than what we're paying Nicole.
Right.
Right, and that's kind of the changing
If-
pains and,
If, it depends on how busy planning gets, I don't see that happening, especially with the TED going on.
Mhm.
I agree with the Ted. I think that's gonna be a lot more hours than she thinks.
And the other part of that too was is if we, that the assistant would be able to do a lot more work and not require Sean to come down as
Yeah,
often and save some money there.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was the kind of the idea, was to get Sean down. Is Sean contracted monthly, or is he billing us hourly? Hourly.
And
Yeah.
some of this hourly, yeah.
And if we advertise for somebody with some soils knowledge, they can actually pick up more that Sean is doing, because you don't need a registered sanitarian, as I
To do
understand it.
soil analysis.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think, Sean had some guidance for us on that.
Yeah, so if we could target,
Mhm.
advertising towards some expertise,
Mhm.
might actually save us a lot of money.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. And then, for finance and district court, maybe maybe just hold off a couple days and,
Yeah. let's
See how that-
See how that works out.
yeah. And frankly, Debbie's gonna be too busy to train somebody for a little while. Oh, let me give you an update on victim witness advocate. So, we went into the budget with a $30,000 cut to her grant. We had the meeting, it was about 2.5 hours the other night, and revisited those grants. We had 15 people in the office in Helena and several on the phone, public. So we had Jackie Jones, who's the lobbyist and attorney for the County Attorneys Association, number of county attorneys, victim witness advocate, Kelson Young was there. And they all added their comments. But basically, at the end of the conversation, it looks like ours is about a $4,000 less. So $96,000 will be funded by this grant for victim witness. It still has to be approved by the board, but I don't think that'll be an issue at all. I talked to Brooke, and because she does so much work for Marr County, she is going to talk to them about an interlocal that should more than offset the $4,000.
Oh, okay.
So, that budget should be good,
Okay.
yeah. And I'll leave it to her to decide what's right and fair with Marr County, perhaps the two can negotiate. But if it's a little bit more than the $4,000 that's lacking, it'd be nice to put that into a CIP. Because it's possible we're going to be looking at further reductions in some of these grants. And one of the reasons we have them is so that we can have time to plan on how to fund, if that were to happen. That's all right. And I sent you an email on the update of the victim witness
Yes.
money.
Yeah, so that was one of the updates I was working on, with payroll and stuff this morning,
Oh, good.
so that because I gotta get the preliminary notice in the paper for our 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to make sure everything was done and ready, as ready could be for the preliminary.
Now, I just shorthanded it for you guys. Corey thought it was a $4,000 cut, but Tina Chamberlain, who runs that program, said it's the exact same amount of money because there's a match there. I don't know if you saw either one of those. And then Brooke said she's gonna work with Marr County on an interlocal agreement because she's doing so much work for them. Be less expensive for them to just work with her,
Yeah.
and it would help her budget if she's doing work in Marr County anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And Broadwater County citizens shouldn't pay for Marr County.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she got, outside of her wages, I think she had her, with the work comp and the COLAs and things, she submitted the same for expenditures,
Okay,
so.
all right, good.
Goes to have some extension.
Oh, yeah, but I don't know that we can make a decision yet. We're gonna have to address that, but we don't know what our mills look like. Yet. Guess what I would like to say is, let's just table that till we see what we get for mills, if we get some extras. And if not, then we address it through another means.
Okay. Let's see, Public Works part-time employee.
I think we approved that today. Already.
Solid waste, we were just gonna move that temporarily over, see what happens with the intercap loan.
Yeah, and after Debbie works her magic, I think you'll come to us and suggest the amount we need from PIL to balance that out, Debbie? Okay, so that's on hold, okay.
So this law enforcement, they took the 2 vehicles out, right? And the
Yeah, we-
159, we don't need that.
Well, we put it into their CIP, and so it didn't, it's not, so they probably will still need it, I think at least one. But we put the money they wanna spend into their CIP, so it's not reliant on mills.
Oh, okay.
And to, maybe before you came down, Ben had discussed that they're looking into a lease program.
He did mention that this morning,
Okay, so.
so that could all change
Could all
everything,
change, yeah.
which long run, it might be easier for them to budget for. If it's
Exactly.
all being taken care of, I said, I kinda like that idea.
Yeah.
It's just a monthly, then everything's up to date, they buy back. And you don't have to come up, like I said, with this big chunk of change every couple of years, or how do you squeeze the turnip to get a little more money? If it's part of your budget, you work forward. You know, especially if, like for the city, right there, some of the city's donation could help that lease. And then whatever they can. Sorry.
Public health. The school's not gonna do their, the school's gonna evidently take over all their. Better put some money in CIP, cause that's a disaster, right?
Disaster in the making?
I think so.
Yeah. If somebody who has experience with billing is already almost full-time, just doing the school immunizations, somebody with no experience is going to be drowning.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I understand where they're at, I know they have to try it. So,
Well, I
yeah,
think they would have to hire someone who's licensed to give shots. It can't just be me or you.
right? Oh,
That could be a serious problem. If they think they're just gonna use an existing staff member to do it, unless they've got their certification somehow.
From the conversation I had with Teresa, it doesn't sound like they're, if the school's doing the shots, they're just gonna do all the paperwork.
Yuck. Okay. I know how much they struggled, even when Linda was here. That's a lot of paperwork,
Yeah.
a lot of coordination. Okay,
So
they won't know
then-
till they try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's it, yeah.
So then they also had a $2,400 increase for Blackfoot, a $6,000 for 10 hours for respite care, and a market adjustment for Teresa.
Well, that one was, Michelle and I tried to talk to her on. In order to do that, she's gonna have to rewrite her job description. You guys are gonna have to approve it. And then it's gotta fit within the wage matrix. Just because that's what other public health office, nurses or officers are getting, doesn't mean we can just give it to her. And I know we've told her this a couple of years now. When Linda Campbell was here, she wanted market adjustments. Well, we've adopted the wage matrix. So in order to justify that, because that would mean possibly a new band, new job description, new point system, and everything to justify that. We can't just
Okay.
give it to her, because she's already at over 100%, I think, of the median
Oh,
in that position, as she stands right now. So at best, she needs to start with a job description change.
so she needs to submit all that paperwork before we can do anything with the approval for that.
And I know we've told her that a couple of times,
Okay.
but I don't know if she, I don't know if we're not explaining ourselves well enough, or if she thinks she wants you guys to do her job description. She's gotta do it, because she knows what she do, then submit
Yeah.
it to you to approve.
Okay.
And then we run it through the point system to come up with, because that's how Mary's job was done. That's how if anybody, point systems, market adjustments, if by redoing your job descriptions, that can determine if there's gonna be a new band or if you're within the existing band.
So the Blackfoot increased it. The discussion that we had with Mike the other day, does that 2,400 change, cover that change or not? They need to bump it up from 1.5 5 to
That's right.
3515.
Yeah, I wasn't tracking with you there for a minute, sorry. Their budget looks really strong, Debbie, but you found a mistake in it. Is it still looking strong enough to handle that? Is it 2,500 for the year?
2,500 is what they had in here, but I don't know if that covers, like I said, I don't know if that covers that, the new, if that just covers up their initial bump up, or does that cover their next bump up they have to go, because right now they can't get voice and computer at the same time, so they have to go to a higher level.
And because they're off-site from the courthouse, it is a little more.
Yeah,
I'm just not sure how much more, if that's something Mike told her, or if she's just guessing. I'm not sure, I'd have to check on that one.
well, I don't think that was what Mike would have told her. He might have told her that before, but I don't think that she was aware at this point of what that new bump up was gonna be. I think it's probably better to take a
And I
while.
was looking at everybody's budget, some people's, they increased that for their Blackfoot and their utilities, and stuff, the internet and all that, and others didn't, so I'm not sure if everybody's aware of all that. So Michelle's been working on the bill and the splits. I'm just not sure how many are aware of that, cause we're trying to split it out, so everybody's, kinda like we were before, everybody's got their equitable charge, what they use and what they have, but I know the clinic and the museum, the gym, you know, didn't want that, some of that are separate. And so I'm just not sure on that one. I don't think I've ever heard.
Yeah, see, because extension and road, solid waste and, health will all have differences.
Yeah, but I just don't know how much the increase was per each one of those sites or cumulative effect.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever heard. Well, I guess we could ask Teresa or Mike or kinda get a,
Would
do
you
some
also-
research.
Would you review their budget and let us know if you think there are any reasons they couldn't handle that increase?
Okay.
Again, it looked good to me,
Yeah.
but, I would defer to you as the expert.
Yeah, Teresa did come by yesterday and I did give her wage worksheets. There will be, because WIC went away and divvying up the hours, and I told her to look at these percentage breakdowns. The general fund is gonna take a bigger hit on the wages, which is kind of the way it used to be. Because, you know, like I just explained to her, the grants only cover so much, so she needed to look at wages and grants, that the grant covers with wages and the expenditures in whole. Because if she needs X amount like MCH for expenditures versus salary, we might have to adjust her salary line items. And I didn't do her wages with her market adjustment request. This is
Okay.
without it. So I want her to look at that. There is one of the, I think it's immunization, where some of the revenues were supposed to be receipted into there, and she hasn't. She's expensed out of there, but hasn't put some of the revenue back in there. So I gotta go look at that to determine where some of the reimbursements need to go versus her general health. But if she isn't spending out of them like she thought she was, and putting everything back into the general fund, we'll have to look at that too, because she asked me about that. So I think she was a little unsure of it too.
Okay,
Still learning, and Diane's back, so that'll help.
yeah, yeah,
It's been a hard one for her to coordinate all that, especially with getting rid of WIC and the new respite, because we were asking about that. She said Geraldine can't take on the hours, so that's why she's looking at the 10-hour respite relief, because the grant would cover that. So we discussed that, and she was gonna look all that over and get back with me
okay,
and adjust how many hours she wanted Geraldine to do versus the respite nurse or respite care to match the grant, in addition to what she's already getting for the homemaker grants. And then the PILT matching grant portion of it. So she's
Sounds
busy
good.
too.
yeah.
So-
WIC, quick update. I talked to Brenda, who's the head of public health in Lewis and Clark County. They signed an agreement with Broadwater Health Center yesterday. They've been working on this for a while, but they wanted to assure us that WIC is in Broadwater County. They will have one day dedicated per month for WIC rather than once a quarter. And, they have an RD of their own, so that's how they can do it. And they're gonna come down here and actually have clinic space.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Great.
pretty exciting,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
good.
yeah,
It'll work out better for the program anyway.
I think so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And it was actually taking quite a bit from the general fund too, about $18,000 a year on top of the grant, so we may see a balance there a little bit, which will be good. Well, that's all I have. Are we missing anything else?
What do we do if we get another surprise?
Roll with it.
And that, what would that do to our union contract and all?
Nothing. I mean, the union
Yeah, just-
doesn't care about how much money we have. You know, their drive is to get their members benefits.
Everybody, so they would still get whatever we negotiated in the contract, it's nobody would get the 3.9.
Yeah. Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, can we freeze again and not destroy the morale? Yeah. May not be the full, maybe it'd be a portion of that. But yeah, if we get a big surprise, we have to look
I
at
don't know
that
what
stuff.
stupid idea they can come up with to pull that again, but I wouldn't put it past them.
Right? Yeah. I am encouraged by a 15% increase. I mean, regardless if we lose mills, that's still a huge, again, the 9% increase, loss of mills equals an increase of 3.9, we still came out to the good.
Yeah,
Because the value of the mill goes up, so you get less, but the mill
Right.
is worth more, so you
Sure.
still gain money with fewer mills, essentially.
Right. And I think with the 2-year cycle, what we're gonna start seeing is what we saw 2 years ago and last year, and that is loss of mills, but an increase in value, and the next year, increase in mills. And then the next year, a loss of mills, and then an increase. So I think we're gonna be a little bit more on a roller coaster than having the 6-year cycle, which you kinda had a better sense to plan.
anything else?
Mm-mm. No.
Okay, with that, I guess we will adjourn at 12:51. And I made a mistake and took some mail home yesterday, but it was specifically about what I was talking about, the Department of Revenue using a GPS GIS system.
Oh,
Anchorage, Alaska, and some whole county in Illinois, that's how they do all their revenue, all their appraisals. All photography, that's how they do every bit of it. And if the state of Montana's gonna be on a 2-year rotation, that's what they're gonna have to go to. Cause you
Yeah.
can't keep up with it every 2 years, it's impossible.
and not miss
Mm-hmm.
a lot.
And not miss, exactly, because that did exactly what they fly that and they get the picture, and if you have a new building, you pay taxes on the building, plus if you didn't have a permit, they would've put it into the system, and you get to pay for that permit.
Oh, there you go.
Smart,
Makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, did Sean tell you that he bought a drone?
Oh, did
He's
he?
gonna be
Oh, did he?
using for his, yeah, inspections.
Well, and
Not a bad
that's the-
idea, we might get bit by dogs less.
Right. Right.
Was that his birthday present to himself?
It might have been. He bought it a couple weeks ago, so.
I know Kelly Morrison uses one all the time for his real estate
Yeah,
stuff.
it's kind of a in thing, what we're going towards.
They had one on the news this morning, I think they were in Whitefish, mosquito spraying.
Oh, yeah,
Larvicide and
Oh.
mosquito spray, and they were, thinking about this is the new way of.
Well, well, Mark was here, he talked about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we watched him do it out at the fairgrounds,
Yeah.
remember, Mike?
Oh, yeah.
Looked, pretty promising.
so
Well, and cheaper than a
John
helicopter.
Hahn- Yeah, John Hahn bought a drone and donated it to the school so the kids could learn.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the kind of people we
Yeah.
have,
That's awesome.
Oh.
yeah. And another citizen donated the no-till drill.
Yeah.
You know, and we've got some pretty awesome people here.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I guess it gets used because you had to do some repair work on it,
Right? Yeah.
so it gets used. So it's been good.
I'm gonna go put these in the lounge, so if you know of anyone who wants some, spread the word.
The swirl file.
Yeah, that has to get recorded.
Okay.
Debbie, would you get together with Val and share with her kind of what we discussed and where we're at, kind of set her at ease?